Hi, my name's Kevin, and this is my EV, a 2023 VW ID4 that I took across the country in the spring of 2025. I was actually new to EVs, so I was a bit intimidated about doing a long road trip like this. So I made a short video to show how it went, and I also hope to give a couple of tips to people who are new to EVs. So in this video, I'm primarily going to talk about planning for the trip, how much time you're going to end up spending on these type of trips, and what the cost might be. And then I'll also give some mistakes to avoid. I think the first crucial step to planning a road trip, especially a long road trip in an EV, is route planning. The biggest component of planning is going to be where are your EV chargers and specifically your fast chargers. I did this with the help of the PlugShare app and the Electrify America app. I have a Electrify America plan that came with the lease of my vehicle, which allows for free charging. So I did prioritize those charging stations. You also need to consider time spent at the EV chargers because this is going to add quite a bit of time at the end of the day to your overall trip in comparison to a combustion engine vehicle. Now, if you look at my route map here, you will see that I did not take a very direct route from Reno, Nevada to Winchester, Virginia, which is where I ended up. And that is because I actually made this more of a road trip vacation. I did this over 2 weeks. So this is not going to be your most efficient way to get across the country. One of the things I was unsure of was how much weight would affect my mileage. And this is my car here, just showing a picture of the back with all the luggage in there. So it is completely full of luggage. Even the front seat has luggage in it. The first EV station I stopped at was in Fernley, Nevada. And I went ahead and I just went full 100% charge. I know, you want to save battery life by only going to 80%, but I figured I'm on a road trip. I want to make sure I'm fully up to 100%. And I was so glad I did that because from that leg, from Fernley to Winnemucca, I found that my driving range was actually a lot shorter than what was showing on my dashboard. This was because my driving range was estimated on city driving. The mileage you get flying down the highway at 80 miles per hour with very limited regenerative braking going on is actually much less, and for my calculation my actual range was 70% less than what my estimate was. The car did correct this estimate though right after this first leg of the trip, so after I left Winnemucca the estimate was pretty accurate. The other concern I had was how much elevation was going to affect my driving range. One leg of my trip was from Elko, Nevada to Park City, Utah, which has about a 2,000 foot difference in elevation. Now, driving up a mountain will definitely lower your range. I know that I've done that before, so I just made sure that I charged up before I hit the mountain part of the trip. But otherwise, a lot of times the elevation gain was gradual enough that it really did not affect the estimated range. One of the mistakes I made early on was booking a hotel that advertised having EV chargers, only to find out that the EV chargers were only for Tesla and would not be compatible for my car. So I did not get to charge my car overnight because of this mistake. So when you do see EV chargers listed under a hotel, definitely do check and make sure they have the one that you need for your EV. In saying that though, I found that I actually did not opt for the overnight charging option. The reason being that I was often out doing stuff during the day, and I would get back to my hotel room and not really feel like going outside and plugging my car in and then having to set an alarm for whenever it gets done charging and then have to go back out, unplug it, and move it so that I don't get extra fees or just people pissed off at me for hogging the charging station. So instead, I opted to just go sit at a charging station for 30 minutes the next morning. Which brings me to the next question that I'm sure many people have, and that is how long are we expecting to take on these road trips, considering we have to stop at charging stations along the way? And as you can see in this map here, this is one of the legs of my trip. I went from Oklahoma City to Memphis, Tennessee. And according to the map, it should take about 7 hours. Now, for me, it took about 9 hours. And I stopped to charge 3 times during that day. Now, I should mention that my charging strategy was playing it safe by making sure I always had plenty of charge left over by the time I had to charge again. And I feel like this strategy actually did pay off because I did hit some pretty gnarly road conditions on my way out of Colorado and into New Mexico. And the route that my GPS was giving me took me through a mountainous road that was quickly becoming covered in snow. And I hadn't seen any other cars on the road for many miles. This was obviously a road that was not going to be plowed anytime soon. So I made the judgment call to just turn around rather than be stranded in the middle of nowhere and go ahead and make that trip back to another charging station, which was much farther out of the way than expected. But since I had that strategy to make sure I had extra charge, I made it to the other charging station with just enough charge left over to not be totally freaking out and anxious about the car dying in the middle of the road. I'm sure the other question people have is how much it actually costs to charge this thing during the trip. And that's a question that I can't really answer that well, and that's because I did have that Electrify America plan where I could charge for free for 30 minutes at any station. So I could actually go to a station, charge for 30 minutes, not pay a thing, and then drive off to the next station, charge again for 30 minutes, and not pay a thing. And with those high-speed chargers, you're getting almost a full charge out of that 30 minutes. So there were days where I didn't spend any money at all charging. I think the most I ever spent charging, whether I went over my 30 minutes or was actually at a different charging station, was $35. And that was total for all the charging stations I stopped at that day. And I should note that for this trip, I often took convenience over price. So, for example, in this picture here, I'm actually parked at the Taos, New Mexico mountain where I could sit there and charge all day. I paid like $10 for a parking spot and I just got the slow charger. But I was up on the mountain snowboarding all day, came back to a fully charged car, so well worth it to me. The other concern that people might have about stopping at the charging stations is just the fact that you have to, sit there for 30 minutes or longer sometimes if you want to charge it up to 100%. And I have to say that there was actually not a single time that I was at a charging station and was just utterly bored and just watching the clock and, anxious to get off back on my road trip again. A lot of times I had to stop for a bathroom break by the time I hit the charger. So, that killed some time. A lot of times there's stores that you're parked outside of so you can go in there and get some snacks or whatever else. And, like here in this picture is a beautiful trail in Moab, Utah. There was a Electrify America station just right at the trailhead. And so I got to go and do a nice little 30-minute walk in one of the most beautiful places in the country. And I did that at other stations too along the way. So can't say it's a bad thing. It's also a good way to prevent fatigue. So a couple of times I stopped and I was tired. I took a nap during the charging time. Or just the fact that I got out of the car and walked around and got the blood flowing, I just felt much better and felt like powering on through the rest of the day. One other worry people might have is whether you're going to get to a charging station and it's going to be full and you actually have to wait for someone to leave so you can charge, which of course is annoying. And I actually found in this entire trip that most of the stations looked like what it looks like in this picture, and that is I was the only one there. So it really should not be a big concern if you're planning these trips that, oh man, what if I just go to one full station after another and that's going to add so much time to my trip. I really don't think that you need to worry that much about that, especially if your charging station options are broader than mine. So mine were mostly limited to the Electrify America ones, and I didn't really have a problem. So if your options are wide open, then I would not worry about it at all. And that is it, my friends. After 2 weeks of road tripping, I finally made it to Virginia, where the dogwood flowers were blooming, and it looked a lot more like spring than it did on the west side of the country. This trip was absolutely amazing. I really enjoyed it. I would say that if you are worried about going cross country in an EV, hopefully you are not so worried now. It is actually very manageable. I will say you're going to have to take more time than you would in a combustion vehicle, but it probably won't cost you as much. And I will say the trip is probably going to be more enjoyable with all the little breaks in between. If you liked this video and you found it helpful, then please do hit the like button and give comments below. I'd really appreciate it. And I really do hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you all enjoy your EV road trips as well.